That's so far.
Good morning, Chair. There's currently 6 members on the platform.
Oh, we correct already. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. You can fly to the program. Okay. Um, Thank you very much, honorable members. There we are. There's no robot chairing the meeting. It's a human being. Thanks very much. You are all welcome, honorable members. Welcome, officials from National Treasury. I'm not sure if the Deputy Minister is here, the Deputy Minister Sarpen or Dr. Masondo. If they are here, they are welcome, or I'm not sure if the DG is here. Is also welcome with the executives from the National Treasury. Welcome our support team from SCOF, legal division, communication, and everybody in the parliamentary services. Welcome the media and welcome the public. Do we have apologies?
Yes, Chair. Apologies received from Dr. Burke and Mr. Beasley, and then from National Treasury from Deputy Minister Sarapam. Thank you.
Okay. You said from National Treasury, who has apologized?
DM Sarapam, Chair.
Oh, okay, the Deputy Minister. But do we have officials from National Treasury here in the platform?
Yes, Chair. MP van Schoor, Chief Legal, and then Norma Liesel. They will take the committee through the presentation, Chair.
Okay. Okay, now let's go to item 2. Honorable members, this is a very important piece of legislation that we have to process. It deals with families that now find themselves destitute because of what happened in terms of processes. If you look at the CS, for instance, it explains in detail what the challenges are in terms of processing the amendment to this Special Pension Act. To address all those challenges, during implementation, there were challenges that were not addressed properly. And it ended in what we call unintended consequences, where there are so many families who were left out. And today we have their beneficiaries or their children finding themselves in a very bad situation. So I think all of us will agree to this pension bill because we are dealing with the lives of people who, unlike you and me, who know that every 15th month we are getting a salary. These ones don't know whether tomorrow they will have a bread on the table. So I wanted to make those remarks so that we understand the gravity of the legislation. We are not just dealing with an amendment for the sake of amendment. We are dealing with the lives of people out there who are waiting patiently. I've been approached by many former military combatants and many others who have been affected to say, Kanti, when is this bill coming? And we spoke to the minister that can you try by all means to expedite tabling the bill. So that's what we're dealing with here. It's not a matter of amending just to comply there, but it's a matter of going to change the lives of people on the ground who are really affected by what happened in the manner things were processed. Let me invite, as you say, the DG, the DMS not here. I'm not sure who's leading the team from National Treasury to take us through the amendment bill.
Good morning, Chairperson. It's MP van Square. I'm the DDG for Legal in National Treasury. I'm just going to do a short introduction, and then I'm going to ask my colleague Nomaliso Bolasile to present to the committee. Greeting you and other members of the committee, and thank you for the opportunity to brief the committee on the Special Pensions Amendment Bill. Nomaliso Bolasile is in the Legislative Services team in the Legal Division of National Treasury, and we'll also be joined by Kabelo Jonathan, who's from the Government Pension Administration Agency, who deals with the administration of the Special Pensions Act, and he will also assist with questions that the committee members may ask. Thank you. Sorry, Chair, I just want to ask, my colleague asked if I can control the presentation, but I can see I can't share the screen.
MP, I just made you co-host now.
Okay. 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 So we can start, Nomaliso, if you can go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, MP. Good morning, Honorable Chair, members, honorable members of the committee, colleagues and everyone on the platform. We are about to do the presentation. MP, if you can go to slide 2, please. I think in terms of this slide, it provides a brief introduction in terms of what this bill is about. But the Special Pensions Act gives effect to Section 189 of the Interim Constitution 1993, which makes provision for the payment of special pension to persons who made sacrifices or served the public interest in the establishment of the constitutional dispensation of our country. And this act came into effect in 1996 and has gone through numerous amendments, which range from 1998, 2003, 2005, 2008, and 2011. And the proposed amendments to the Act in the Special Pensions Amendment Bill, which is before this committee, aims to address misalignments which became apparent during the implementation of the Act. And these challenges that were identified, if they are not attended to, they will continue to cause a detriment to many liberation struggle veterans and their families. So that's basically the introduction as to why there is this proposed amendments in front of the committee. Then the following slide is the slide on the objects of the bill. And the objects really, in summary, is to provide for the retention of benefits that have been determined before the lapsing of certain provisions. So this act, when it was drafted, it provided a period of which the period open window to apply would elapse. However, what we are doing in this amendment, because that time has come, we are ensuring that those benefits that have already been determined would remain. And also, the bill aims to allow persons who qualify for more than one benefit to be granted the greater benefit. It also aims to provide for the right of a survivor to a survivor's lump sum benefit under certain circumstances. Also, this bill provides for the funeral benefit, which is in line with the government employees pension law. So there is already a funeral benefit in terms of the act. However, the proposal is that it should be aligned with that of government employees. Furthermore, this bill aims to provide for condonation of applications submitted after the closing date. As we go through the bill, you'll see that there was a strict closing date that was put in place. However, we are creating an opportunity that there be condonation where there are valid reasons for the late applications. There's also a provision that we are making for reconsideration of a determination by the designated institution if material facts that were not considered at the time of making the determination are provided on application. Some of the examples here will find that some of the members, when they were making the application, they did not have all the information to support their applications. And we are making that opportunity to be available that if new information comes, that those members would then be able to resubmit and that there be a reconsideration by the designated institution for a determination. There's also a section in this act that we are repealing. We are also substituting and deleting certain definitions which would go with some of the parts that are lapsing in terms of this act. The next slides are going into the clause by clause analysis of the bill. And I think in clause 1, we are amending section 6 cap A, which provides for the lapsing of part 1. And as I have indicated in the objects, we are just making sure that shall not affect any payment or benefit payable to any pensioner or beneficiary where the designated institution has made a determination in terms of the Act before 31 December 2006. And part 1, let me just clarify, deals with members who are 35 years and older. So similarly, in clause 6A bis, which will then fall under part 1AA, there is also a lapsing that is taking place. And they were also correcting an error there where there was a 2001, which was supposed to read 1995. And that error now we are making sure that we are aligning the dates of commencement of entitlement to a pension benefit for those persons who are between the ages 30 and 35 years of age. And that is in 6A bis subsection 3. We also are allowing persons who qualify for a benefit under the parts of the Act to be granted the greater benefit and to provide for the lapse, as I've indicated, in 1AA, double cap A, which is for those in the range of the age 30 to 35 years before 31 December 2010. The next slide. The next slide deals with clause 3 and 4. And in clause 3, we are repealing section 6 cap B of this act. This section was viewed as unfair because there is no justification for why a surviving spouse should not receive a survivor's lump sum benefit in respect of the deceased spouse, or why a child should not receive a survivor's lump sum benefit if both are receiving a special pension in their own rights. And in clause 4, we are providing that the person has the right to a survivor's lump sum benefit in terms of the act if that person is a surviving spouse, or if there is no surviving spouse, the surviving dependent of a person who has died or presumed in law to be dead, or who, if still alive, would have qualified in terms of section 1 or section 6A bis for a benefit. And then in the next slide, we're dealing with clause 5 and 6. And in clause 5, we are replacing the word orphan with dependent. And you will see in the entire act, we have since replaced the word orphan with dependent. And the reason was that the current wording and the use of the term orphan is restrictive, and it does not include other categories of persons who may be dependent on the pension. And the other rationale that was considered was that the basis upon which children of a deceased veteran should qualify for a monthly pension in respect of their deceased parent should not be whether a surviving parent is wealthy or indigent, or whether she or he is deceased or alive. The only consideration we are proposing is that should be that because the parent of the deceased were not married, a monthly pension should be paid to all children of the deceased equally. In clause 6, we are also deleting the word orphan for the reasons I have indicated already under clause 5. In clause 7, it's the same. We are deleting the word orphan, but we are also including a provision in clause 7 to enable the minister, by notice in the Gazette, to amend Schedule 4 of the Special Pensions Act to provide for the funeral benefit in line with the Government Employees Pension Law of 1996. And the reason is because there is Schedule 4, which determines amounts in the Special Pensions Act. And when the government employees funeral benefits go up, we are proposing to enable the minister to change that schedule by notice in the Gazette, so to align when those benefits change. In clause 8, we are providing for the condonation of the late application by the designated institution under certain circumstances. I think I have touched a little bit the reasons behind that under the objects. And we are also providing for the appeal board to condone late application if the appeal board is satisfied that for reasons beyond the applicant's control, the notice of appeal could not be submitted within 60 days of the date of the decision of the designated institution. That takes us to the next slide, which deals with clause 10 and 11. And again, we are deleting the word orphan for the same reasons as I have indicated under clause 5 above. And in clause 11, we are again deleting the word orphan for the same reasons, to remove the restriction in terms of who is an orphan. Thank you. The next slide. In clause 12, we are ensuring that the designated institution considers its determination in respect of any application if there is a material fact that was not considered by it that may have resulted in the different determination. Have that fact been considered when it made the determination? So I have also, I think, tried to explain a little bit on this reconsideration under objects. And we are substituting the definition of child And we are deleting reference to spouse in paragraph B of the definition of dependent, and we are deleting the definition of orphan. And all these definitions are making sure that there is an alignment and that there are no persons that are excluded by way of these definitions access to these benefits. The next slide. Okay, so the next slide, and that is the end of the analysis in terms of the clause by clause, which now brings us to comments from stakeholders. So before the cabinet approval to introduce the bill in Parliament, the draft bill was published for comments. We received quite a number of comments, but in summary, the following are the ones that we are presenting. And that is, one of them was that there was a strong advocacy for the explicit inclusion of ex-political detainees as beneficiaries under the Act, with the retroactive application and equal treatment of military veterans. Another proposal was that on surviving benefits and lump sum payments to families of deceased or missing detainees, removal of age restrictions to ensure inclusivity and to align funeral benefits with those of the Government Employees Pension Fund. There were recommendations on the condonation of late applications, the reinstatement of Special Pensions Board for transparency, and the alignment of benefits with those under the Military Veterans Act, including healthcare and housing. Furthermore, there were comments that highlighted indeed the poverty among ex-detainees, highlighted the need for gender-sensitive provisions, and there was a suggestion for a dedicated Government Pensions Administration Agency task force for claims and outreach. And some of the concerns, and I think as we're presenting the clause by clause and the objects, you would realize that they have been taken into account, but some of them fall outside the scope of this bill. And I think indeed the bill in front of us reaffirms the focus on the provision of pension to individuals who were prevented from providing for their own pensions due to the full-time involvement in the liberation struggle. The next slide is going to take us through the financial implications for this bill. There's an exercise that was undertaken where actuaries were engaged to assist with the financial implications. And the estimated cost of this project is at above 98 million for back payments and above 847 million for future costs related to children's pensions. The actuarial calculation took into account the mortality rate and estimated annual increases, and they estimated the annual additional benefit of above 14 million. And this will be paid annually, and it is estimated to above 42 million for a period of over 3 years. The total number of qualifying beneficiaries that were considered when this actual calculation was done is 10,145. It comprises of 360 families which were affected by the prescription period on death benefits, 285 applicants who initially qualified and later committed Schedule 1 offenses and were subsequently disqualified. Approximately 9,500 applicants that were excluded or turned down previously as they submitted their applications after closing date and therefore were rejected on the basis of being late. And we just would like to bring to the attention of the committee that it should be noted that most did not meet the age requirement and have since applied for military veterans pension. the internal control and system is able to pick up and prevent any double dipping between the special pensions and the military veterans benefits. Furthermore, in terms of financial implications, we are estimating that the benefits for qualifying struggle veterans would be monthly pension, survivors some lump sum benefit for surviving spouse or dependents if there is no surviving spouse, monthly spouse benefit for deceased veterans, or monthly child pension until age 23, with the provision for monthly pension for children with disability until they pass on, a funeral benefit upon death of pensioner, upon death of spouse, and upon death of children under the age of 18, and children between ages 18 and 23 who are still in full-time in studies. And there will be a once-off lump sum back payment followed by monthly benefit until the pensioner passes on. On the next slide, we have submitted the bill as required to the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor, and the bill has been certified for constitutionality. We have also submitted the bill to the Presidency for SARS, and we have attached the certificate that was issued and the copy of the SARS for the committee that allowed us to go ahead with the processes in terms of going further with the bill. That will be the end of the presentation. Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the honorable members. And we would now hand over back to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Nomalizo and MP. So we are done from the side of National Treasury. Before I go to members.
Yes, Chairperson, thank you.
Okay, thanks. The next item, engagement by the members, clarity seeking questions, and or comments. Let me go into the box here. Let me check the names in the order. Honorable Van Rooyen, Honorable Alexander, Honorable Mazivuko, Honorable Scotty. Yeah. Alan, we have four members raising hands, isn't it? Also on your side.
That's correct, Chair. It's only the 4 for now.
Okay. Okay. Honorable Van Rooyen, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and a very good morning to all in attendance. Let me start, Chair, by welcoming on behalf of my MK party amendments that have been finally accommodated in this act. I'm saying this, Chair, because if you look into the history of this act, and the amendments effected on the act, it has been a protracted process. We are going now for the 6th amendment cycle, and I must indicate, Chair, with a very heavy heart that it's just unfortunate that every time this amendment cycle were opened, most of our submissions were not considered. Here I'm referring to associations that represents the constituents that you are referring to, the military veterans. They have made extensive submissions on this act since its inception in 1996. And I'm happy that some of those submissions finally they are finding a reflection on the current mooted amendments. My heart and of course our sincere condolences go to those families who have lost their loved ones, and to our combatant who are no longer with us, who were not there, who are not there here with us, obviously to realize these benefits. To those families, Chair, as much as we welcome the introduced amendments, to those families, it's a case of too little, too late, because their loved ones are no longer with us. In some cases, even the dependents themselves, they are no longer with us as a result of our failure to intervene when the intervention was needed most. So we really convey our condolences, and of course, we know that it was all done by them for the good cause of this nation. So we salute them, but anyway, we are here where we are with this amendment. Now, my question to those families, I mean, on behalf of those families is, I will want National Treasury to unpack the retrospective nature of these, amendments, because people died while waiting for these amendments to be finally acknowledged, and some still have dependents. I think it will be appropriate for National Treasury just to explain this thing of the retrospective nature of these payments, I mean, to the dependents and also to those who are no longer with us. Secondly, Chair, we raised an issue, and I can say this issue is not entertained anywhere, not unless the National Treasury will tell us that it's not within the scope of this bill. We raised an issue around exempting the special pension payouts. And here we are, we don't hear anything about that. How is the tax implication on these payouts going to be cushioned if these payouts are not tax exempted? Maybe National Treasury will explain, and maybe they will also explain what happened to that submission, where we are calling for these payouts to be tax exempted. And lastly, from my side, Chair, clause 2, Chair, we still argue, and I'm going to plead with this committee to really help us on this one. Clause 2, the one that deals with age restriction for those who qualify. I mean, from 1995, they say between 30 and 35 years. Now, to us, this is a travesty of history, because if you look into the history of our struggle in South Africa, I mean, struggle against apartheid in South Africa, you'll realize that it was in 1984, if I'm not mistaken, the 4th of October, when the then president of the African National Congress and the commander-in-chief of one of the biggest military armies, I want to say the Liberation Struggle Armies, Umkhonto weSizwe, Ndate Oliver Tambo, when he said, we need to render the government, the apartheid government, under the leadership of P.W. Botha, ungovernable. and of course challenge the military style of that government through mass mobilization. And then he then issued an order that the young lions of South Africa must roar to render the government ungovernable. That subsequently, without necessarily getting to the details of the, what transpired, Chair, that led to many young people leaving the country to swell the ranks of Umkhonto weSizwe. And when I speak of young people here, Chair, I'm speaking of people who were less than 18 years, who joined Umkhonto weSizwe. And that's why O.R. Tambo termed that detachment the detachment of young lions. And that's why O.R. Tambo created a unit, they call it Amapioneer, because I'm not going to say they were child soldiers or were child soldiers, no. But I'm going to say this thing of age restriction, because I can see National Treasury is not budging on this one, you know. It's really disadvantaging chairperson, majority of those young lions. And if you check at the statistics now, Chair, of those who are still around, those who are approaching you from time to time, approaching all of us from time to time, struggling to make ends meet, is that generation. Now, if you say someone who was 18 or less than 18 in 1984 is not going to qualify because in 1995, he was not 30 or 35. I think that's a serious travesty of history. We are distorting our history of struggle by excluding those who fought for our liberation on the basis of age. Now, we were saying, because initially our submission was very clear, Chair, that do away completely with this age restriction thing. But we end up realizing that it might be abused. So we finally submitted something that we thought is a middle road between our initial submission and National Treasury position, that let's say those who were 18 at least around 1995, they should be considered. Because if we don't do that, I'm telling you, Chair, we might think that we have addressed the problem by these amendments, but I don't think we will have done justice to those young lions, the majority of whom are currently struggling and they are depending on, some of them have already, they are no longer with us and their dependents are struggling. So I'm going to plead with this committee to use its constitutional power to introduce this amendment, because truly speaking, this thing of 30 and 35 is excluding majority of the young lions. And these are the people who responded positively to the call of joining the armed struggle then, which was made by the then president of the government in waiting, the African National Congress, and of course, the armed wing of the African National Congress then, Umkhonto weSizwe. So I'm pleading with this committee that for this cycle of amendments not to be concluded without this thing of age restriction, definitely we'll have not addressed, as a committee, we have not addressed the plight of those military veterans and their dependents. So I'm pleading that the committee must use its constitutional mandate and introduce this amendment, that amendment, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Van Rey. Honorable Alexander.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you to the National Treasury for their presentation to us this morning. This bill, I think, addresses a genuine hardship that was caused by some rigid implementation of the Act. And this has been long outstanding and has been going on for many years. I believe in the previous term, we even had the military veterans come and present to the committee. So it is good to see that we are getting to a place of finalization so that we can do what is right for the people in South Africa. I do have some questions of clarity for Treasury around a number of categories. If we look at the communication, so obviously this has gone through multiple rounds of inputs, and there has been a lot of public participation, but I'd just like to find out how are we going to communicate this with our veterans, and what happens if this doesn't meet all their needs? What are the steps that are potentially proposed? From a financial side of things, the amount of back payments is looking at about 98 million rands worth of backdated payments. Could I get a breakdown of the beneficiary types? Is it a lump sum? Will it be monthly pension? Will it be paid over a period of time? Will this happen over 12 months, 24 months, or staggered? How are these payments going to be managed so that it is clear not only to the committee but also to the beneficiaries? There are future annual costs to over so a value of 847,000 is what I understand. Is this a capped annual cost? Could this exceeded? What are the estimates? What is estimated for the condonation of reopening of new claims? Is there a ceiling for this? And then has National Treasury analysed the impact of the special pension vote? Will this need a supplementary appropriation, or has this already been taken into consideration? With regards to implementation and capacity, there are 9,500 cases that needs to still be resolved. Does the GPA have the capacity to manage these in a reasonable timelines, and what would those timelines be? There was also a draft guideline that says material facts will be considered. What are these material facts, and will they be published and shared with the committee before implementation? Then with regards to policy clarity, the bill allows the minister to amend Section 4 by Gazette notice only. Why is it not required that there is parliamentary oversight or approval? What safeguards are going to exist here? And I thank you for taking my questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Alexander. Honorable Mazibuko.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning to you, Dr. Maswanganyi, and good morning to the honorable members, as well as the members from National Treasury. Appreciating the presentation, Chair, based on your opening remarks, the ANC welcomes the amendments, and we wish for the swift implementation after the required process has been exhausted. We really appreciate this amendment. And maybe before I ask my question, which is similar to Honorable Alexander's question, I think maybe the debate and the consideration of the points that were made by Honorable Van Rooyen in terms of those who joined the army at a young age, Chair. My question, Chairperson, was how are the rejected beneficiaries going to be reached, especially those who were rejected and they passed on, and now what is left is their beneficiaries? Is there a plan to reach out to those beneficiaries, and do you have information of some of the beneficiaries? Because some of the beneficiaries might not even be children. It might be the grandchildren who were not necessarily maybe written on the beneficiary data, if there was a beneficiary data. So hence I said it is similar to what Honorable Alexandra has asked. How do you have a plan or a map to reach out to these beneficiaries for them to be aware of this kind of amendment, especially those who were rejected and have given up? What is your communication strategy on that? Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Mazibuko. Honorable Squad.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, let me as well welcome the amendment of the Act, but as well join my colleagues in welcoming the progress that has actually been registered with the amendment, because indeed this was impacting on people's lives. I mean, you can imagine when a spouse that has been left behind, who was really, relying on the little benefits that they were getting from the main beneficiary. And you've got the spouse, you've got, the surviving spouse, you've got, children who are dependents of the beneficiary, and they're all left in the lurch just because, of missing, the coverage of the entire family, but also in terms of how far the benefits would extend, because those people would not have any means of survival. So I think it's amendments that we really need to welcome, and wish that they speedy the implementation and make sure that those that have been victims of this gap are able to benefit, and make sure that it's able to really afford them some bit of relief in terms of what they were supposed to be getting. And I think it's a well crafted amendment, and I think we should actually all welcome it. I think there would still be other issues, for instance, in terms of the distortion of information, the abuse of the benefits, where most of those that are supposed to be benefiting are not benefiting, and those that are not supposed to be benefiting are actually benefiting. And I believe that there is still that need for the responsible offices to actually continue to deal with the cleansing of the beneficiary list, so that you do not necessarily close out or find a way of increasing and bulging the costs at the expense of those that are supposed to be beneficiaries. So once again, thank you, Chair, for the presentation.
Thanks, Honorable Squad. Treasurer, back to you for responses.
Thank you, honourable members, for the questions. I'm just going to address one question asked, and that's about the payment of the special pensions. How would it be funded? There was a bill passed by Parliament last year that makes payments under the Special Pension Act a direct charge against the National Revenue Fund. So it's not required to pass appropriation legislation every year to cover the cost. But the actual cost that will be reflected in the budget documents that Treasury tables. I'm going to ask my colleagues first, Namalisa Bolisili, to respond to some questions, and then Kobelo Jonathan from JIPA will also address some of the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, MP, and thank you through your chair. I think there are quite a number of questions. I just would, without answering them in any order, but I will start with the one on exemptions relating to the tax implications. I just want to indicate that in this round of amendment, we did not receive a comment in respect of these exemptions. So we therefore would request indulgence by the committee that we be given an opportunity to go back and consult internally with the tax policy unit within National Treasury on how this issue can be accommodated or considered in respect of these lump sums that would be payable and the tax implications thereof. I think the next question that The next questions, I think they are very associated to the issue of the payments in terms of retrospective nature or back pays. They also, we acknowledge the question on the different categories, the future annual costs, the back payments as well, the issue of ceiling, the issue of how the analysis of the costs was made, and I think MP has answered on the budgeting and the vote funds on that. I think my colleague Kabelo Jonathan from JIPA would take on that. But just on the issue, maybe the last one I would take on is the issue of the age restriction. Yes, this issue did come up in terms of the comments. However, there has been this is to us fundamentally a very big policy issue because it underlines how the pension and the benefits that are associated with it are calculated and so forth. But I think this is something also that somehow in the 2008 amendment was considered, but it looks like it was not fully maybe or to the satisfaction of the beneficiaries or the members to the pension. And this is something also we would like to go back and reflect on because this is a big policy issue. It underlines a lot of aspects in terms of how the whole scheme of this pension is arranged. Having said that, Chair, I would hand over to Gabriel on all the other questions in respect of the retrospective nature of the amendments and all other related questions on finance. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks a lot, Norma and MP. Good morning, Honorable Chair and Honorable Committee members. My name is Kabelo Jonathan, the Acting Chief Director under the Government Pension Administration Agency, overseeing the non-contributory benefits, which is inclusive of the military pension, special pension, and the military veterans pension on behalf of the Department of Military Veterans. Chair, I'll deal with questions from Honorable Van Rooyen, the issue around retrospective nature of the amendment, because many people have indeed passed on while waiting to some of these untold pains that were caused by the rigid Principal Act, which we tried about 5 times to amend and see if we can accommodate those potentially unfair sections of the Act. The Chair, the liberation struggle veterans who passed on will be accommodated whereby their surviving families will be paid. The Act provides for the surviving spouse to be paid, and in case there is no surviving spouse, the children of the deceased. In relation to children of deceased, the current Act as it is, we find it very unfair by saying that children must be an orphan. That is why, if you recall in the presentation of Norma, we are proposing that anywhere where is the word orphan in the Act, it must be changed to dependent. Why are we saying that? Because we had a very difficulty in implementing the Act around the wording and the definition of the orphan. I'll give a typical example. A liberation struggle veteran or political activist who was indeed involved in his own right, leaves behind a child and he was not married, and the other parent of the child is still alive. That child is not an orphan. we are saying, why are we punishing this child? Because he's a dependent to the deceased military veteran. That's why we are proposing that anywhere where the word orphan is in the act, it must be substituted by the word dependent. Also, to accommodate their deceased veterans who were indeed married, but they've got children out of wedlock as well. That child, irrespective of his surviving mother being well off or not, is a dependent to the deceased veteran, and we are proposing that it be accommodated. How will this be paid, Honorable Van Rooyen? The Act provides for a lump sum of, we would adjudicate on the deceased veteran as if he's still alive, and determine his number of years in his political service, and calculate what he would have received if he was alive today. Then we take that particular monthly benefit and we multiply it by 24 as per the Act, so that he's in par with his other comrades that are still alive. Then that particular lump sum benefit is paid to the surviving spouse. If there's no surviving spouse, it will be paid equitably to the children, divided equitably to the surviving children. Now, on the surviving spouse part, after that particular surviving last lump sum, there will be a monthly spouse benefit payable to the spouse, which is 50% of that determinant amount that I spoke about, that we would have determined that should the deceased veteran being alive, he would have received this monthly today. 50% of that monthly will be paid to the surviving spouse. If there is no surviving spouse and there are children who are still below age 18, those children will be paid a monthly child pension, and between age 18 and 23, the child must provide us with proof that they are still full-time in school. Then there's also a provision for a child that suffered from permanent impairment or disability. By the time of death of that particular veteran, that child will be paid until he meets his untimely death. So that's how those will be accommodated, Honorable Van Rooyen. On the second part, the question that you raised around exemption, I've noted, Norma, that we will go back to our stakes unit. I just want to indicate, in addition to her response, that this matter came during my last presentation, I think 2013, 2014, to the portfolio committee. It was raised by the late Honorable Mlangeni. We did, under former Minister Nene, we did come back. SARS was engaged extensively. The response that was provided back to the portfolio committee in writing by National Treasury was that SARS indicated that a pension is treated as an income. If this pension from the beginning was a grant, it would have been exempted from tax. For the mere fact that it is a pension, SARS indicated that it will have to comply with the tax laws of the country. So I'm not sure if there's any change of heart from SARS. Like Norma indicate, Treasury may still go and engage SARS and see what is there a change of heart in that instant. But like I said, that's how the response that we received that time when it was raised by the late Honorable Mlange. The issue of clause 2 around age restriction. The age restriction was accommodated during the 2008 amendment, whereby when you look at this issue of age, Honorable Van Rooyen, after 1994, the public participation, this question relating to special pension, this question came numerous times, and the response at the time was that the people that were above the age 35 will be accommodated because they still had years in their life, and they will enter and integrate into the new dispensation and contribute to pension. And in 2008, there was still an outcry to say, look, not everyone has integrated into the defense or the new dispensation. How do we address that? Then the age was brought down from 34 to 30, which means the cutoff date was 1966. People that were born 1st December 1966 backwards were now accommodated, because the previous age restriction for the 35 and above were people that were 35 and above on 1st December 1961. Now, there was additional 5-year category in addition that were accommodated in the 2008 amendment. The reason why it did not go further than that was, again, the same reason that those that are born now from 1967 had already integrated into the system, and some, even if they did not integrate, because some went to school and they came back as qualified, and some have joined private sector and still contributed to the economy of the country and had opportunity to build for pension. But another aspect that was raised was a person that was born 1977. Why I'm raising 1977? It's the age issue that you raised, that why don't we allow those that were 18 by 1996 to join? It will be people around 1977, 78, and 79. Now, the issue is there are other aspects of the requirement of the act, because there's about 5 requirements that you're supposed to meet for you to qualify for special pension, not only the age category. Now, one of the key things, if a person must have been prevented from providing for his own pension for a minimum period of 5 years. Now, which means if a person was still in school, that person was not eligible for employment at the time and was not prevented from providing for their own pension. So it was one of the reasons that was used, accommodating additional 5 years. If there's an appetite by government to strengthen it further, remember now, in addition, there's the military veterans pension that was introduced. Many of the young lions that were outside the age category 1961 have now benefited through the military veterans pension. We are currently paying about 4,400 on a monthly basis, and they are getting around 6,000, which is some more than some of the special pensioners who have 5-year service in the political service period. Honorable Alexander, the issue around communication, we did indicate when we did the economic impact study that once the bill has been approved and signed into law, the JIPA will go on what we call the communication campaign. When we did the 2008 amendment during 2009, we did exactly the same. We went to all provinces. We wrote to all local structures through SAMVA to ensure that they are fully aware of the new amendment. Last week on Wednesday, I was invited to make a presentation at the SAMVA conference. I did indicate to the SAMVA delegates that were there that there is this particular amendment that is underway, and then we've indicated that once the leadership has been concluded, they must share the information with us, so that once this is concluded, we must communicate with the local structures in the provinces. We will use radios and local radio stations as well as newspapers in the languages that people would understand in the provinces. That's how we've indicated in the economic impact study, Chairperson. Now, financially, in the breakdown, Chairperson, we've indicated that some of the people that were excluded in here that we're worried about is the spouses. There was a prescription period whereby the survivor's family had to apply for survivor's benefits application within 36 months from the date of death. Many of them did not make it in time and were excluded in terms of Section B of the Act. We are proposing in this particular amendment that particular prescription period for the families should be done away with, because some of our liberation struggle veterans, did not even inform their families that they are getting this benefit, and families only hear at the later stage that he was receiving special pension. By the time they come, the 3 years waiting period has prescribed. So we are proposing that that particular one be scrapped, and then the other category is the 285. Those are the ones I spoke about. Then there's 285 Schedule 1 offense. The Schedule 1 offense is, in terms of Section 1, subsection 8 of the Act. The Act made provision that for all the liberation struggle veterans who benefited under this law should not commit any Schedule 1 offense in terms of Criminal Procedure Act against the current dispensation. Many of them were rejected and their pension discontinued. But there was one veteran who took this to court until Constitutional Court, which is the late Honorable Masemola, and he won the case because what is happening there, some of them, depending on the type of offense, after 10 years, there was that automatic expungement. Some offenses, there was no automatic expungement, and they had to apply through Department of Justice to have their conviction expunged after 10 years. Now, the issue was that they cannot be, the legal opinion that we obtained was that by the time we implemented that, the situation at the time allowed administratively for us to discontinue. Then Mr. Masemola took this to court until we won it and was reinstated. And he has paved way for many of those that are affected. Then we are proposing that that particular section be removed as well, which will see more than 200 of these comrades being reinstated. Additionally, there's 9,500. The 9,500 is those that came after the closing date. Many of them, they claimed that some were in hospitals, they did not receive the communication that special pension was open. Some of them, they claimed that they were outside the country in missions deployed by defense. Some of them indicated that they were in jail, and when they were released, they were only told about this particular benefit. Unfortunately, the 2008 amendment took away the authority of the designated institution or the minister to condone any late application. Therefore, we are proposing that we open these to include this particular category of people. The issue of capacity, Honorable Alexander, yes, the JIPA has administered this before. We have taken in October 2003 the military veterans pension on behalf of the Department of Military Veteran. We have implemented it successfully. We do have systems and governance structures to ensure that we continue to administer special pension without any problem. The nice thing is some of those young lions who went and are approved under the Military Veterans Act may try to take some chance and apply for this new benefit. We will guard against the double dipping to ensure that they are only given the most advantageous benefit and not benefit on both. Section 4, Honorable Alexander, the funeral benefit, why are we saying it should be done in a way of gazette, and why Parliament should not look into this? It's not for the total benefit of the monthly recipient. It's purely for funeral benefit. What we're saying here is, when funeral benefit started, when it was introduced with the 2005 Amendment Act, it was aligned to the GPF funeral benefit. The GPF funeral benefit at the time was 7,500. Now, GPF has been increasing over the years because of the cost of living. Currently, the funeral benefit with GPF is 20,000. Special pension, it's still sitting at 7,500. So we are proposing that instead of doing an amendment now and again for funeral benefit, the minister should be allowed to, through gazette notice, align the funeral benefit with the GEPF. Honorable Mazibuku, your question is similar to Honorable Alexander around the communications. I think I've addressed that, unless if I missed some of your questions. I've noted your concerns, Honorable Swati. We will ensure that there is a speedy resolution in the implementation. Oh, another question I think I might have missed. I'm not sure it was from, I think it was an issue of time frame to say during implementation, what timelines are we looking at? Remember, once we open this, there are other applicants who could not make submission because they knew that special pension have closed. So the 9,500 will be easy. The within the 9,500, we will interface with our military veteran database to see how many of the 9,500 benefited from there, and those will be removed from the list. So this should not take more than a year for us to complete the implementation process. But in addition, I know we're still going to have lots of them who don't qualify, who will still make a submission. I'm saying this based on experience, and they will even lodge appeals until the appeal board level, even if they don't qualify. But we will ensure that especially the age, because our system allows us to tap into it and see the age category. Those that are above age 60, we will look into them and prioritize quickly because they've got only minimum time left in their life. And not to say we will disregard the other age category. Chairperson, let me end here. If there are any further questions, we will assist. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are the responses. Honorable Van Rijn.
Thank you, Chair, and also a word of gratitude to the responses. Chair, this thing of exempting this payout is crucial, because if we subject them to taxes because of the normal tax legislation provision, then we are defeating the purpose of this special dispensation. Well, this is a special dispensation. This is not an ordinary intervention. So subjecting it to normal taxation laws is a bit unfair to those who sacrifice for this country to be where it is today. So I once more, I'm going to plead with this committee to use its authority and to make a clear recommendation that these payouts must be tax exempted, and is for the administration to see how to implement it. I mean, the administration can't hold us ransom. We are lawmakers. So I'm requesting that this committee should consider a recommendation that will ensure that these payouts are tax exempted. I'm going to request from the JIPA representative if they can provide an analysis, because there is this assumption that we need to test, Chair, that our people have all been integrated into what is this, the economy, or maybe into the South African system of doing things, and it's not true. Not all our people have been accommodated in our system. Not all of them, and that's why we need to test this assumption. I think it will be helpful if the committee is finished with an analysis of the statistics of how many people are benefiting on the normal pension provision as opposed to those who are expected to benefit from the special pension. I think that analysis and categorization, the breakdown, will help us to somehow to deal with this assumption, because that assumption from where we are seated is a misplaced assumption. Not all military veterans have been absorbed by the system for them to be able to provide for themselves or to contribute to other pension schemes. No, not all of them. And you'll be surprised. The numbers might tell a different story. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Van Rijn. Treasurer.
Chairperson, yes, on the question of the tax exemption, we will, as my colleague indicated, we will consult internally with our tax policy unit as well as the SARS again, and give feedback to the committee. I'm just going to ask my colleague Kabelo if he would GPO be able to do the analysis that Honorable Van Rooyen requested. If he can respond, thank you.
Thank you, MP. Through you, Chair. Yeah, Chair, we can provide the analysis in terms of since 1994, particularly ring-fencing it around the struggle veteran to provide who has benefited in the various dispensation. Remember, there's a military pension, there's a special pension, there was also the NSF recognition, which many of them took once off when it was applicable, especially those who did not want to integrate. We've got the data we can provide, and we can also provide now through a pay point. When I refer to pay point, the system can tell us from Department of Defense how many people through the years have retired, and the number of pensioners under the GP law. And we have the data in terms of the military veterans pension as well. We will try to be as comprehensive as possible, Chair. We will assist in that. Thank you.
Thanks. I hope we are done with the questions and comments from members. Okay, thanks. The officials from National Treasury. What I think should be indicated is that as much as we are going to go back and consult with SARS and other divisions to deal with issues that were raised, we are not going to put on hold processing this bill. There are many people waiting outside there for this bill to be processed by Parliament, and we don't want to delay it. It will be a work in progress. By the time we deal maybe with clause by clause amendment, we'll integrate some of those issues that are being raised. So the bill will be processed in terms of parliamentary processes and deal with all those issues, including the definition of what is a liberation struggle veteran, which I think is defined in the bill, the act of, is it the Military Veterans Act 18 of 2011? So that there's no abuse. I think we must be very careful also as legislators that people don't define themselves as military veterans, and we know that they are not military veterans. This also happened during the time of integration. I know there are people that when we were in PSYCO, in the ANC Youth League, in SANSCO, some were not participating. But all of a sudden, boom, come integration. They call themselves ex-combatants. So we will not allow the system to be abused by those who will be opportunistically claiming that they've got a history of struggle. I, for one, I never participated in MK. I was in Psycho, I was in Sansco, I was in the Youth League. But because by then I was in those youth organizations, I overnight claimed that I'm a military veteran or a struggle veteran in terms of the definition. It will be wrong. Because if you ask me that Joe Maswanga, who was your commander? If you say you were in the MK at that time, I will not give you the name of my commander. But if you ask me about the Youth League, who recruited me into the Youth League, who recruited me into Sansco, I'll give you the names of those people, alive or not alive. And usually people want to use the names of people who are no longer alive. That Soren, the late Soren So is my former commander, when it is not that case. So we are going to be very, very strict in terms of processing this bill, so that the state is not subjected at the end to incur costs that is not supposed to incur because of opportunism. But we'll make sure that those who are genuine beneficiaries because of their late father's late mother and so, and now they are left destitute because their parents who were military veterans or struggle veterans are no longer alive. We'll get them. And we must use a very thorough and scientific system to identify those people. Today, South Africa is paying a lot of old age pension, child support grants, even to foreigners. Go to Musina from the 1st to the 6th. You see people who are crossing the border and getting to Musina to get our pension fund. The same applies when you go to Mpumalanga. You see people who come from Swaziland and wherever, because the child was born in South Africa and all those. So we must deal with those. And what South Africans today are raising about foreigners, they might not be doing it in a right manner, probably there and there, where they harass people on the streets. But let's look at the genuine questions that they are raising. That foreigners, for some reasons, to a certain extent, they are getting benefits which they are not supposed to be getting. And we can't, what is the right word? Be told that, yeah, because we accommodated you when you were still fighting for liberation, then you must accept everybody in South Africa. No, we can't be blackmailed for that. We have always acknowledged the generosity of people of Zambia under President Kaunda, Samora Machel, Angola, Uganda, Soviet Union, Cuba, all those countries that accommodated all of us. There was no stage where we did not acknowledge them. But boom, all of a sudden somebody wants to come to South Africa, and you enter into South Africa and want to benefit on the expense of our taxes. That cannot be allowed. Because when we were fighting liberation struggle, we were hosted outside there. So that cannot be used. So the same applies here. when we have to pass this amendment bill, we are going to be very, very strict when it comes to definitions as to what does this mean, what does this mean, so that even whosoever will want to take it, the law for the bill for a review, will not succeed, because there might be other people who will want to suppress this bill or delay this bill. And people, as we have said, are dying out there waiting for benefits, legitimate benefits from the state. So there's no delay, Treasurer. Please, MP Normalizo, and your colleagues, as much as you are going back to talk to SARS, you'll come when we process. It will be work in progress. It does not mean that we're taking the bill anywhere backward. We'll deal with the issues as we progress. It's very painful because I say this, I've been, 2 days back, I was at the National Executive Committee of the NEC, NEC of the ANC. I was approached by the president of the Veterans League, Tate Dr. Zikalal. And he told me, Joe, how far are you in processing this bill? I tried to explain to him that the minister has tabled the bill, and he explained to me and said, do you know how many people have passed on and their beneficiaries who have not benefited from the state because of you guys in government not doing things properly in terms of processing the bill, doing this and that. And as the Veterans League, we are not happy. So he also spoke to Minister Godongwane there at the meeting. We were at the Protea Hotel, OR Tambo Airport. And he represents many people who are his constituents. So I committed to him that we will do everything possible and legal to make sure that this bill is processed. So if we have to call SARS in the next meeting, let them. If to invite the Department of Defense and the military veterans, let's do so. Everybody should come, and when we deal with questions, they should be able to respond on the spot, so that we don't keep on referring that SARS is not here. So, Alan, working together with the National Treasury, let's identify other departments to send their representatives, those who deal with this matter, when we move forward to process this. We're not saying that National Treasury does not have all the competence, but if you look as to where is this act prosecuted, it's across various department, defense, military, veterans, then there's the issue of SARS, and then so on and so on. So we must have everybody in the house with definitions, deal with categories, deal with the year brackets, who's supposed to benefit from when, until when, and why, and make sure that we are thorough and so I have to be this long because it's very. I've seen families that are destitute that have not benefited from this act, and so we are not going to leave anything behind that will make people of South Africa unhappy. So thanks very much, honorable members. Thanks very much to officials from National Treasury, and I'm not sure if the legal division of Parliament is here, because we are dealing with amendments and they assist us a lot in dealing with some of these issues. And the support team as a whole, GPA is here, and everybody who's supposed to be here. And as I've said, next time we'll add more departments and all the units to come and assist us to process this bill. But there's no delay, and does not mean that we are going to do illegal process of not consulting. We are going to consult adequately so that somebody doesn't come later and take us to court, because there's this thing of always challenging legislations on the basis of inadequate consultation. So when we have to do the public participation or consultation, we'll make sure that all stakeholders that are supposed to be consulted are consulted, and we make a register of that, the date, and when we did that, so that it passes the test and not to be delayed for another year. 1 day delaying of this act means a misery to somebody who's supposed to be benefiting from the state. The people who have sacrificed their lives for me and you to be where we are today are not benefiting. So that's a very painful part of what we are dealing with here. We're dealing with lives of people, where a family will have to go all out and raise donations to bury a family of a military veteran or a struggle veteran, whereas that person was supposed to be benefiting from the state. And the public ask themselves, that is this what people fought for? That this person has dedicated his life to the struggle. And look today how he's buried. He's buried like a pauper, or through donations from funeral undertakers and the like. So those are the real challenges that we are dealing with on a daily basis when it comes to. So it's a very emotional piece of legislations, because we deal with lives of people who have done a lot to liberate this country. Thanks very much, colleagues. Let's adjourn the meeting. Alan, what is the item tomorrow before we close?
Chair, it was going to be a public procurement bill, the members' bills, but I've sent you a communication with regards to the Constitutional Court challenge. So therefore, we've taken that off the program for tomorrow, Chair.
Okay, no. I've seen that. I've seen the letter from the minister and the letter from the speaker that let's put that in abeyance, and I will sign that amendment of the program. It's just that my tablet now has stories in terms of electronic signature, so I'll do that to make sure that we comply. So thanks very much, honorable members. Let's go to budget debates. Thanks.
Thanks, Chair.